Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this new Cults album, Hosts. Cults are a New York-based synth-pop duo who I had a lot of hype on in the early days of their career. I saw them open up for a lot of acts I was seeing around the 2009-2010 era, and I thought they had a pretty cool sound. I loved their throwback sound to earlier vintage pop, but also they were super noisy and eclectic. And their 2011 self-titled album caught me completely off guard in an even bigger way. I thought it was one of the catchiest pop albums of the year. I thought they were going to be the next big thing in indie pop. However, a couple of years later, they followed that up with Static, and they already honestly sounded really bored with their sound. Tracks like High Road were really good, but overall I felt like Cults weren't really gung-ho on their sound anymore. And by 2017's offering, I kind of felt like Cults were just another faceless synth-pop band. They were making ballads that just, quite frankly, didn't move me at all. I mean, I didn't completely hate their covers album of that Motels album they did. There was some pretty true-to-form stuff on there, but outside of that, this album from a distance has been worrying me, and the singles haven't exactly eased my mind at all. Let's chat about this thing. The album starts off with Trials, and honestly, for a track from Cults in 2020, this isn't that bad. I actually like the low-key groove and the subtle funk here. However, clearly someone has been listening to a lot of US girls this year. It obviously has some Meg Rami influence in here. But it actually leads to some pretty great moments, some very respectable vocals as well. I mean, it's nothing wild or exciting, but for a track from Cults in 2020, I like this. There are some good tracks here. There almost always is. I actually think 8th Avenue might be the best track here. I mean, it's easily good enough to be a single. This track has so much swagger and personality to it. No, it's not as noisy or eclectic as their early stuff, which is still very disheartening. I miss the good old days. But it's super slick. It has a real sense of cool to it as well. It carries itself very nicely. I mean, it's not like where I thought we'd be hearing Cults right about now, but if I heard more like this, I would have enjoyed this album. No Risk, I can't really bash either. It's actually super adorable, ultra catchy. Not only that, but the groove that pops in here is spectacular. I think it's one of the more simple tunes here, but if that's what it takes to get a good track out of Cults in 2020, I'll take it. And Like I Do is pretty good as well, but mostly because it's just something different. Smooth and it's silky, and it has a lot of very adventurous twists in the instrumental. As far as vocals go, once again, it's something different. It's a little mysterious. These are just new sounds for Cults, and I'm just dying to hear that right now. Because let me tell you, the rest of this album is pretty hard to sit through. Spit You Out is not good at all. See, there's one thing to be a noise pop act, which Cults kind of once were, but this is clunky and ugly and just amateurish sounding. It's underwritten and aggravating, just really disappointing all around. With Allo, we go from clunky and amateurish to light and fluffy, like really quick. I don't know though, to me, there doesn't really seem like to be a good medium for Cults on this album. Let me tell you, on Allo, the real suspect here is the writing. It is pretty awful. It's not sweet or catchy or anything even close. It's just aggravating, once again. With tracks like Working It Over, I'm telling you, some of these tracks are like pulling teeth. This is so boring. This is so tame. Look, a sleek indie pop, synth pop band making sweet, charming ballads is one thing. But there is no character here, not even close. I genuinely think this is the most boring track here. Even this chorus that's supposed to be full of life, there's just no hope in sight. With A Purgatory, I just have to ask myself, like, where's the energy on this album? Steamy, dreamy pop tunes are one thing, but one after another with no emotion in sight is really hard to sit through. I actually sort of dig some of the production here, which is funny, but everything else about this track just looks like halfway thought out ideas that should have been reorganized. Purgatory, this track is more like hell. Masquerading, I'll be honest, actually had me at first. I thought the instrumental that kicks this track off is actually pretty colorful, pretty exciting. 30 seconds later, we're back to the same damn thing. Look, I'll say this track isn't nearly as bad as other tracks here, mostly because it has a decent chorus. But outside of that, this isn't winning me over, and neither is this album. Honest Love, once again, isn't nearly as bad as some of the early tracks here. Trust me, there were some real snoozers in the beginning of this album. The livelier vocals here and this big chorus actually do this track some justice. But the rest of this track is Cults trying to stay relevant and not making that good of a claim on it. And then we have Shoulders to My Feet, and let me tell you, 11 tracks into an criminally boring dream pop, synth pop album, whatever you want to call it, the last thing I wanted to hear right now was an acoustic ballad, but yet here we are. And honestly, it's pretty awkward. I actually don't hate some of the synths that pop in. Those sound pretty decent. But overall, I feel like some of my favorite indie pop and synth pop bands couldn't pull this track off. It's not where I want to hear Cults though. And let me just say this. I will give credit where it's due. The chorus here. It might be the best on this whole entire album, but the rest of this track does not do it for me. And Monolithic as a finale, let me tell you, hearing this track as a single a few months ago almost just made me skip over this album altogether. If this was a pleasant on the ears ballad with some tender moments thrown in, I could see myself enjoying this. But the fact of the matter is, this is directionless. This is album number 4 for Cults, and they are still lost sounding. This album is just not for me, man. I'm sorry. I mean, it's just one dreary, bland, emotionless ballad after another. You know what? Cults do surprise me sometimes, because when they write a big chorus, it comes off really well. There are some tracks on here that they sound halfway decent, but overall, they sound like they're lost. They're sounding like they are trying to get further and further as away from their original sound, which was actually pretty cool, and I don't understand why I'm kind of lost on this album. It's not good. I'm feeling a decent 5 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.